Hello everyone, Ace here, and today we return to talking about ICraveTheVoid. And in this video we will be discussing how he chose to bravely flee from a debate that he had agreed to weeks in advance. And yes, there is evidence to show that this was a premeditated decision on his part. Though I believe I am getting a little bit ahead of myself. For those who need a refresher, back in January I did a video covering some of the more horrific things that ICraveTheVoid has advocated for in the past. Now for those who don't know, ICraveTheVoid has a lengthy history of arguing that people that he arbitrarily deems to be bigots deserve to be violated against their consent in the name of diversity, as was seen when it comes to his position on the August Ames controversy, which since I have covered in a past video, I'm just going to re-show that footage here to save myself some time. But to clarify, I also need to add that ICraveTheVoid's position is that merely refusing consent to someone is itself viable grounds to have you labeled as a bigot. And I need to emphasize that because that is how low the bar is being set for ICraveTheVoid to suggest that you morally deserve to be raped in the name of his ideology. And with this in mind, here's that old footage again for context. But let's move on to the topic that ICraveTheVoid is clearly the most butthurt about. That being that I keep pointing out the fact that he has actively tried to defend rape. This is, for those who don't know, specifically in reference to the Simon Wheeler comment. Simon Wheeler being a far-left activist who was part of the harassment campaign against August Ames, an adult actress who tragically took her own life shortly after this harassment campaign began. And the motive for this harassment campaign was that August Ames asked that the individual that she was expected to do an adult scene with, who had a history of doing gay scenes, be tested first. And when this individual was not tested, she refused consent. And this refusal of consent resulted in far-left activists labeling her as a bigot, and thus they began to actively harass her. So in other words, this situation proves beyond all doubt that you can be harassed by the far left simply because they do not like your reason for refusing consent. But let's now tie this back to ICraveTheVoid, who has decided to downplay Simon Wheeler's comments and actions, which he tries to do via the age-old excuse that socialists always provide, that being it wasn't real pro-rape advocacy, because real pro-rape advocacy has never been tried. Now, of course, this is already pretty atrocious on the part of ICraveTheVoid. However, things managed to get worse, as ICraveTheVoid pretty much openly admitted that he supported the idea of August Ames facing repercussions because she refused consent, stating that people that he believes are bigots, and he does believe August Ames to be a bigot, should, quote, be shamed to let them know it's not tolerated socially. In other words, this is ICraveTheVoid admitting that he believes August Ames should have faced repercussions over her refusal of consent. And since that moment, the debate transformed from questioning whether or not ICraveTheVoid actually supports rape to debating just how much ICraveTheVoid supports rape, with me pointing out the example of him downplaying the Simon Wheeler comments as proof that he is effectively downplaying a harassment campaign in this situation, and ICraveTheVoid making the case that he doesn't support rape that much, and merely wants her to be, quote, not tolerated socially for her actions of refusing consent. So yes, as you can plainly see, ICraveTheVoid believes in some pretty horrific things. But you may be wondering why I am bringing this all up. Well, the reason is because this is all tied directly to the most recent news. As after the most recent video I made of ICraveTheVoid, a fellow YouTuber by the name of Brock350N, or Broken as I sometimes refer to him, decided to try to do a debate with ICraveTheVoid. And by the way, I was going to be joining in on that particular debate, which was set to happen on February the 12th. And this debate would of course cover things such as ICraveTheVoid's position on the right to refuse consent, and other topics along those lines. This would be ICraveTheVoid's big chance to disprove all of these claims that have been made against him. Claims that have been made, by the way, with photographic evidence of him saying the things that he has said. But his big chance to try to debunk all of those claims anyways. However, this was simply not to be. Instead, ICraveTheVoid oh so conveniently took a break from YouTube starting literally the day before the actual debate began. Or at least he officially announced this little vacation on that day anyways. In practical terms, his break started literally days after I had made that video all the way back in January. But this official announcement, like I said, came only the day before the debate was supposed to take place. Also, for the record, it's worth noting that ICraveTheVoid has recently changed his channel name. And yes, for those curious, ICraveTheVoid changing his channel name or his channel profile pic is something that has a habit of happening a few weeks to a month or so after I make a video on him, presumably once he thinks the heat has died down. But this, dear viewer, is where we start getting into the evidence that this break from YouTube was not due to immediate and unpredictable personal issues, which ICraveTheVoid claims, but rather instead appears to be a premeditated decision for which ICraveTheVoid had planned weeks in advance. See, ICraveTheVoid only announced his little vacation in the comment section of a community post that he made in response to a small channel by the name of Wanten The Stormtrooper, who left a comment on one of ICraveTheVoid's videos back in January. Now, I can personally attest to having seen Wanten The Stormtrooper's comment back when it was brand new, all the way back in January. And yet, here we have ICraveTheVoid presenting the comment as if it is merely hours old at the time of the community post in mid-February. And oh so conveniently, the day before he's supposed to go on this big debate. This debate being his big chance to clear his name. But I don't want you to take my word for it alone that Wanten The Stormtrooper's comment was weeks old at the time that this community post happened. And fortunately, I don't have to, as I actually managed to reach out to Wanten The Stormtrooper and make him aware of the situation. At which point, he then started calling out ICraveTheVoid on his blatant dishonesty here, as well as deleting Wanten The Stormtrooper's comment to try to get rid of the evidence that it was in fact a weeks old comment. Now, ICraveTheVoid tried to deny these accusations by doing the tried and tested method of just lying through his teeth. For a start, ICraveTheVoid tried to claim that the video that Wanten The Stormtrooper responded to wasn't even uploaded in January, but later on, and so it was physically impossible for Wanten The Stormtrooper's comment to have been made in January. Apparently, ICraveTheVoid was desperately hoping that no one would check up on this and notice that the video that Wanten The Stormtrooper had commented on was indeed uploaded in January. ICraveTheVoid also tried to claim that he did not censor Wanten The Stormtrooper's comment in any way, and that he could even personally still see the comment. Now, I assume that ICraveTheVoid was trying to use YouTube's various methods of censorship, a specific topic that I have covered in the past, by the way, in order to make it seem like he hadn't actually censored Wanten The Stormtrooper's comment, and that he could even still see it. This is apparently ICraveTheVoid pretending that Wanten The Stormtrooper is a victim of YouTube censorship. More specifically, if you want to get into my video on the topic, the third form of YouTube censorship where YouTube makes it look like the comment is publicly available, but it is not. The problem is that ICraveTheVoid has it backwards as to how this particular form of censorship works on YouTube. See, a person who is affected by that form of censorship is the only person who can see the comment. As in, even the channel that they have commented on cannot even see the comment. Yet this situation appears to be the exact opposite, because Wanten The Stormtrooper can't see the comment, yet ICraveTheVoid claims that somehow he can. But because this is not how YouTube censorship actually works, the far more reliable and frankly far more accurate answer is that ICraveTheVoid is simply lying to try to cover his tracks yet again. And all of this because he wanted to duck out of a debate. A debate that he wants his fans to believe that he could easily win, as he has said in the past that he has destroyed every single argument that I have ever put forward. Yet here he is backing out of a debate against me and another YouTuber, and not only that, but doing it in as cowardly a way as possible. Not even making his vacation the main community post itself, but instead doing the community post on a weeks old comment that he had screenshotted back when it was still brand new, and then announcing the actual vacation in the comments of that community post with the hopes that absolutely no one would call him out on it. But unfortunately for ICraveTheVoid, it turns out that people like me exist, who are willing to just wait until ICraveTheVoid thinks that it's actually safe to come out of the woodwork yet again, before covering all of the lies being made by ICraveTheVoid. And since I believe I have covered everything that needs to be said, I'll finish by saying that I will of course be providing links in the description below to the stuff that I have talked about on ICraveTheVoid's channel. I'll also be providing links to the channels of Brock350N as well as Wanten The Stormtrooper, so you can check out their work as well if you should so desire. And I really do have to emphasize that their help was necessary to making this video a reality. From Brock350N trying to get the original debate set up to Wanten The Stormtrooper calling out ICraveTheVoid on his blatant dishonesty. So again, a special thanks to both of them. And with all of this said, this has been Ace. Hope to see you guys again soon. Take care. Ace out.